Hi, this is Kate from Generate Magic. So we often hear people, especially writers, talk about looking for inspiration or waiting for inspiration as if it's some mysterious, arbitrary source outside of themselves. But once you recognize that you are source, then you'll recognize that only you can be the source of your inspiration. And the only way that you can utilize it, that you can actualize it, is by getting it out into the world. So in other words, by taking action or activating. And because we think about it, the words action and activate are related to each other. And while we're on the subject of roots, the Latin root of inspire is to breathe. And so when you think about it, inspiration is really part of who you are as a human, and just like breathing is, right? And so you can think of the act of creative generation as being as natural as breathing. And that's really where I got my name from, Generate Magic, because I wanted to make it clear that the magic comes from you, and it's a force that you generate, right? It's a force that you activate. Because the only way that we can really utilize this divine potential that's flowing through us and as this at all times is to activate it. So in other words, to act on whatever our divine inspiration is, or to act on those creative impulses. And when people experience what they would call like writer's block or any sort of blockage, what it's really coming from is it's coming from allowing those voices of doubt and insecurity and the naysayers and second guessing yourself, feeling like you have to watch 100 tutorials before you can even get started. And so that's where it's really coming from. But you'll discover that the instant that you actually start to take action, it actually becomes whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether it's writing a book, playing a musical instrument. You'll find that it's actually, the more you do it, the more easy and the more natural it becomes. And you'll start to find your own rhythm and your own unique way of doing whatever it is that you're doing. And the great thing is too that it's an iterative process. And so like once you turn on that spigot, sure, like the water, it might come out like a little bit, it might just be like a dribble at first, but pretty soon it'll just be, the ideas will quite literally be flowing out of you, and you won't even be able to turn off the spigot. And so I think of these artists who are very prolific, like we think of Prince. And during his lifetime, supposedly he created well over 1,000 songs. Not all of them got released, but he was somebody that was constantly generating, that was constantly in his creative flow and acting on his creative flow. And even if you look at a writer like Stephen King, who's written well over 60 books, and these are not long books either. And so, these are not short books. Many of these books are well over 100 pages. And it's kind of funny too, because I remember his book on writing, which I would highly recommend anybody that's interested in writing at all read. And so he talked about retiring in that book, and this must have been at least 20 years ago, if not more. And he said, yeah, writing, it was getting to the point where writing, it kind of felt like a slog. It wasn't fun anymore, that he was just going to write kind of for his own pleasure, but not for like commercial purposes. But yet here he is still putting out books. And I have a sneaking suspicion, obviously this is just speculation, that he was not able to turn off the faucets, because that's just a part of who he is. It's, to him, it was as natural and as easy as breathing. And one other thing that I want to bring up while we're on the subject of creativity and creative output is, once you recognize that you are the source of your creative output, but at the same time, the source is coming from the divine or from the universal mind, and we are just the individual channels of the source. And so once you recognize that, there will be less, like I know, especially with writers, there's like a lot of concern about other people stealing their ideas, especially screenwriters. And in the music industry, it's also really big. There's constantly lawsuits happening over this whole issue of copyright. And it really creates a lot of stress for a whole lot of people. But once you recognize that on the one hand, it all comes from the same source, but at the same time, you are the unique channel of that divine inspiration, so nobody can do it precisely like you. And so if we look at music and we look at, there's so many different covers, right, of the same song, to the point where sometimes I don't even really know who first sung like the original version, but it doesn't matter because each artist takes the song and they make it uniquely their own. They give it their own unique essence. And so once you recognize this truth of you being the source, then it really starts to remove any sort of like concern about other people stealing your ideas. And because you'll start to recognize, again, that there's nothing really, on the one hand, there's nothing new under the sun, or as people like to say in the manifestation community, creation is finished. But at the same time, you're the unique channel, and so you're going to bring your unique essence to it, and nobody can be you but you. And so therefore you have no concern over somebody stealing your ideas. And the more you just step into your uniqueness and into your divine power, you'll really start to harness this creative flow. And all these old thinking patterns about being blocked or being stuck, or worrying about copyright infringement or waiting for inspiration, all of that will start to dissolve as you recognize that you are the source of your inspiration, and therefore only you can bring your inspired creations out into the world. And not only will you start to see it as divine obligation, but you'll see it as a divine gift, as a divine joy. Like, there's nothing more joyful than bringing your creations into the world. And so with that, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.